Hi everyone. Today we have a slightly different interview. We're talking about how to build communication and leadership skills. Now, as you know, my mission is to help actuaries build communication and leadership skills, and I've recently released a new book, Aspiring Actuarial Leaders. So in today's interview, the CEO of ACTEX Learning, Bill Marella, is going to interview me to find out a bit more about why I wrote this book and how it can help you.
I am an actuary.
I am an actuary.
I am an actuary.
Welcome to the We Are Actuaries podcast, where you'll meet leaders who use their actuarial powers to solve a range of problems and make a real difference. I am your host, Julia Lessing, and I'm a qualified actuary based in Australia. I help actuaries develop communication and leadership skills to build great actuarial careers. So settle in, learn from the best, and be inspired.
Welcome, everyone. My name is Bill Marella. I'm the CEO of ACTEX Learning, and I'm super pleased to have with me today Julia Lessing. Welcome, Julia.
Hi, Bill.
Julia is the author of an exciting new book that we have out from ACTEX Learning called Aspiring Actuarial Leaders. And we're really, really pleased. So, Julia, if you want to maybe tell our viewers a little bit about yourself, and then I have some questions that I'd love to dive into.
Sure. Thanks, Bill. What a pleasure to have this conversation with you today, and what an exciting journey it's been delivering my first book into the world with you and your team at ACTEX Learning. I am a qualified actuary based in Australia. I have about 20 years of experience working across consulting and corporate roles, and most recently in education and training of actuaries. So I'm also a credentialed executive coach, and I help actuaries build communication and leadership skills to have great actuarial careers.
Fantastic. All right. So what inspired you to write this book, Aspiring Actuarial Leaders?
So what inspired me to write this book? Well, during the pandemic, about 2021, I had an opportunity to develop a new leadership program for actuaries stepping into their first management roles. At the time, it was called Group Coaching for Actuaries, and then it evolved into what we now know as the Guardian Actuarial Leadership Program. And so that program's a small cohort-based program. So it's a cross-company program. Actuaries from different companies come together and work in a really small group over a 3-month period to build the foundation skills that they need to make that transition from individual contributor to team leader. And it's been such a wonderful program. I'm still running the program today. And because I'm an actuary, Bill, as well as a trainer, I gather data throughout each cohort, and I measure the improvement that I see in actuaries throughout the program. I ask them about their skills at the start of the program, and then I ask them again at the end, and I compare the difference. And so some of my statistics that I can share with you are that confidence is a really important part of being a great leader. And when actuaries come into the program, on average, their confidence is 56%. But by the end of the program, on average, it's 80% or more.
Fantastic.
And so seeing that increase in confidence is so wonderful to be able to measure that and to quantify that. But I also measure their improvement in skills, managing people and team skills, managing projects. And again, it comes in at sort of that 50 to 60% skill level at the start, but closer to 80 or 90% towards the end. And so seeing that measurable difference is quite exciting. And so I really wanted to make the content of this program accessible to more actuaries, not just those who can come on my 3-month leadership program. And so that's when I thought, well, what if we turn it into a book and make it more accessible for actuaries around the world?
It's clearly happening. You're in Australia. I'm in the United
Yes.
States. I was just in India talking to people about who already knew of the book.
Really? Wow,
Yes.
that's exciting.
Absolutely. So it is definitely happening. So, you're tracking them, right? But
Yes.
let's talk through that. So actuaries have this technical training.
Mhm.
What challenges are they overcoming, or do they need to overcome to transition into leadership roles?
Yeah. I think the biggest challenge, Bill, is that the role of a manager is so different from the role of an individual contributor actuary. When we're individual contributors, we're doing our technical work. That's what we've been trained to do. We train for a long time as actuaries to be able to do that. We pride ourselves in our technical work. And then we often get promoted to that manager role because we're good at what we do as an actuary. But actually, being a manager is so different from being an individual contributor, because all of a sudden we need to delegate, we need to inspire, we need to manage workflow, we need to do some of the HR type activities that come with managing a team. We need to manage outside our team and upwards and all of those other kinds of things. We need to be able to manage projects with multiple people and timelines. But no one really teaches us how to do that, because typically we've spent most of our careers focused on how to build the technical skills we need to be great actuaries. But then we get launched into this first management or leadership role, and all of a sudden we're required to do a whole bunch of things that no one's taught us how to do. So that's the biggest challenge, I think, is the mindset shift of how different those roles are, but also the skills gap in terms of being able to do those things well.
Exactly. So, your view, I mean, and I would agree with this, right, is that you have to broaden your skill sets. Like that at ACTEX Learning, we're helping people pass exams, right? We might help them with some skill development, let's say spreadsheet skills and, developing, the audit capabilities in those or what have you. So what is your view of actuarial education? Where does it need to go in order for more actuaries to make this step forward?
I mean, I think foundational actuarial education needs to be technically focused. There's a lot of technical skills that we need to build to be great actuaries, and there's no real way to bypass that. And I think that's probably why we get to this position and we haven't had enough room in our curriculum to build those non-technical skills that we need to be great leaders, because our curriculum's been jam-packed with all the technical content, and that's necessary. We need that. But I think there's some opportunities along the way where actuaries can build those non-technical skills alongside that curriculum. And I think there's probably some opportunities for us to, as educators, to design some of our activities or some of our extracurricular learning as well, so that actuaries can just start to practice some of those skills that might come in handy down the track, that aren't just about our spreadsheet skills or our coding skills or our mathematical skills, whether it's around presenting our results and thinking about how to do that in a way that makes sense to others, whether it's about communicating complex concepts more simply, whether it's just about being able to describe what we've done in a way that makes sense to someone who doesn't have an actuarial background. I think there's some opportunities for us to do that, but on the whole, I think our full curriculum of technical skills as a foundation, it's kind of unavoidable, and it's an essential foundation for most actuaries. So I think the trick is to get through that, to make sure you've got that really rigorous technical base. And then when the opportunity arises, we can start adding in those additional non-technical skills so that we can round out our ability and use our actuarial superpowers to make a difference in the world.
Well, if the societies are listening, they should be incorporating your book into the curriculum. That would be a great first start, for sure. So,
yeah, I think so. I think so.
Well, because it is maybe not those first 5-6 exams, but after that, these skill sets are already in demand. From as students start to move into their first level managerial positions, for sure.
Absolutely. And I think it's also what can separate you from some of your other peers. It's a competitive job market. I'm not sure what it's like in the United States right now, but here in Australia, trying to get graduate roles, entry-level actuarial roles are very competitive. And so having those wider skill sets, I think, can set you apart.
Well, I talk to a lot of actuarial students around the world regularly about career issues. And one of the things I point out to them as we talk about building your personal brand, and that has really very little to do with passing a few exams, which is
Yes.
just a given. People expect that. It's all of these, soft skills, and I tell them that what they're really reason why they're important even at university is that at the entry level, employers are looking for the potential for you to be a leader. And so they're looking today at what are you showing to demonstrate that you have the potential to be a leader in my organization, down the road. And it's a difference maker. That's what I call it, a difference maker.
Difference
To your
maker.
point. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great way to describe it. It's
Well,
interesting. I've had a number of conversations with people who've read the book now that it's out in the wild, and those people have ranged from newly qualified actuaries right through to retired CEOs. And the common theme that I'm hearing, even from the very experienced and sometimes retired professionals, is what a great resource. I wish this had been available when I was earlier in my career. And so I think that sort of points to the value of incorporating this earlier into our careers, even if we're maybe not at those management roles yet.
right, because it provides a pathway for what your employer's expectations are. If you know today what the expectations are for you tomorrow, you can begin planning, right? You
Absolutely.
begin reading this book or other resources that help you prepare. So I could not agree more with that. These days, there's a lot of challenges to the profession. It's a very dynamic profession. It's always changing. Talk to me about AI and how you feel like these skills, these leadership skills, these soft skills will help prepare actuaries for whatever is coming down the road.
I think that's the key point, Bill. Preparing for whatever's down the road, because I think we're not exactly sure what this will look like. We're starting to see what it might look like. We're starting to play with some of the widely accessible Gen AI tools. I'm not sure what you're using at the moment, but I know I've had a bit of experience with ChatGPT, and we use Claude as well. And these are great tools for us to incorporate into our daily work. They can make light of things that used to take a long time to do. They can help us with lots of, whether it's the technical work, whether it's writing work. I mean, they're amazing tools. They have their limitations, but I think it's certainly going to revolutionise the way that we do our work. Probably in the way that, the calculator revolutionised actuarial work several decades ago. So I think it's coming. We're still working out what that looks like. But one of the things that has really stood out to me, Bill, as I've started to be using these tools in my day-to-day work, is the parallel between how you interact with a large language model and how you interact with, say, an intern. So a large language model is there as a tool to assist. It can help you produce some work. It's almost something you can delegate work to in the same way that you might delegate work to an intern. But the quality of what comes back won't always be the same quality. It might not have the right tone. It might not be accurate. It might look good, but it might have some flaws in it. And so bringing those skills as an experienced practitioner that we do when we're reviewing our interns' work or even our other teammates' work, to check for accuracy, to check for, is this right for my audience? Is this fit for purpose? Is this up to my high quality professional standards? It's the same kind of process that we apply when we're delegating work that we need to apply when we're reviewing work that a Gen AI tool is assisting us with. Now, the Gen AI tool may be able to do it faster. It may be able to tap into a wider base of information, might be able to do it without having to pick up the kids from school or have a sick day, unlike our interns. But there's definitely parallels in terms of how we interact with those tools. And so I think if we can master effective delegation, effective review, being able to break down a task and explain it really clearly, provide the necessary context, and then provide the appropriate review, that process that we go through when we're delegating work to a team member is very analogous to how we might interact with a large language model. And so I think we worry that large language models and other Gen AI tools will take our jobs and just replace our work and do all these things. But really, I think if we can apply those leadership skills in the same way that we would lead people, I think that will serve us really well as we're utilising these tools in our work.
Hi, I'm Bill Marella, CEO of ACTEX Learning, and I'm excited to introduce our latest publication, Aspiring Actuarial Leaders, the Modern Manager's Toolkit by Julia Lessing, a qualified actuary and executive coach with over 20 years of experience. This book is packed with practical strategies, real-world insights, and expert guidance to help you navigate the challenges of modern management. Whether you're a new manager or aiming for executive leadership, this resource will equip you with the skills to thrive. Get your copy today at actexlearning.com and take the next step in your actuarial career.
I think it's a perfect analogy. Having read the book, I see exactly how it fits. Exactly how it fits. And in fact, I'm thinking second edition already.
Maybe we can use a large language model to help us with that process, Bill.
There you go. There you go. No, it exactly aligns with how how you were talking about managing and delegating other people's work and then reviewing it for, as you said, for the appropriateness for the audience, et cetera. It's exactly right, and so appreciate that answer very much. Turning it from AI to human intelligence, maybe provide the listening audience with some examples of individuals, real world examples, if you can, of individuals that have made this transition successfully, into leadership roles.
So you've read the book, Bill. So you would have met Anne, actuary, and Mark, manager. So we follow Anne and Mark's adventures and mistakes and challenges and learning throughout the book. And Anne and Mark are probably an amalgamation of my own experience and the experience of those who've been through my leadership program and those that I've worked with over the years as well. So those stories are all based in some sense of reality. And so, real world examples. I mean, we've had lots of actuaries go through this program, and so I've heard their stories. And so, without breaching any confidentiality, I'll give you two examples.
Okay.
Of graduates of the program who've worked through this content that's in the book. The book is the content that underpins the program. One is a young actuary who was very, very technically capable, an excellent practitioner, very intelligent, really great with up-to-date, cutting-edge technical techniques and coding and machine learning, really good at what he did. But nobody in his organisation knew what the actuarial team did. And so he was very, very good at the technical work, but very frustrated that nobody could understand what the actuarial team could do and how they could add value and why the actuarial team wasn't being invited to contribute to some of the data analytics projects that the organisation was doing. And so through the program, he learnt about different ways to adapt his communication style. He understood his own communication style, and we look at this in chapter 2, and there's some tools and techniques that we can play with, readers can use in the because it's a multimedia book. And so he understood his own communication style, and then he understood the communication styles of those around him, and he realised that he needed to adapt the way he was talking about the work that the actuaries did so that others could understand. And that he also needed to engage in that sort of water cooler conversation and the small talk and even just asking, so what do you guys do, right? Instead of being so focused on being at his computer delivering his technical work. And once he did that, he was amazed that others could understand what the actuarial team could do. They could understand the value of actuarial work and the skill set. And then he had a seat at the table. And so it was an opportunity not just for him and his career, but an opportunity for the actuarial team within his organisation. And I think that's a very subtle tweak some foundation skills around communication styles that led to that change. And I think that's a really powerful outcome. It's a story that really just brings me goosebumps when he was recounting that change for him.
Well, it's not only for him, it's like a double win, right? And for his organization as
Right.
well, right?
Right.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
Absolutely.
Without breaching any of the confidence, is there any, or do you have a second example that you'd like
I
to
do.
share, or
So
is there? Yeah.
Yeah, so the second one was a young actuary who had a good understanding of her own communication style. She was an experienced manager, a very well-regarded team leader, very good at getting the best out of her team and very good at managing workflow when the team was delivering on its objectives. But she had a manager who she worried about how the manager, she felt that the manager wasn't trusting her. She was worried that the manager didn't trust her and wanted more sort of information than she thought she needed to share, and it was requiring a lot of extra work for her. And we had a conversation about this, and she said, I don't know. I think my manager doesn't trust me. I'm not sure what to do. So this was a case of managing up, which we all need to do as team leaders. And so we had the conversation around, well, could you ask some questions? So we cover some basic coaching questions in chapter 6 of the book, because coaching questions are very powerful in the workplace. If we're able to move from thinking we have all the answers to being able to ask questions and be curious and to listen to the answers of those around us. She was able to do that for her team, but she wasn't doing it for senior stakeholders. And actually, there's a lot of power in asking questions. There's a lot of power in that active listening and being curious. And so one day she took the courage and she said to her manager, what do you need from me here? When she'd been, asked about where's the update and where's this and why haven't you given me this? What do you need from me here? And the manager stepped back and said, this is the story that she's recounted to me. The manager stepped back and said, I'm not really sure. And so it was an opportunity to open a conversation about how she and her manager were working together. And just that subtle shift from answering questions, doing what you've been told, to stepping back and asking a question, which takes courage and confidence, and applying that coaching approach that she did so well with her team, but to a senior stakeholder. There's so much power in that. So I think some of these very subtle techniques, it sounds so simple when you describe it, but some of this is, an art as much as a science as we step into management roles, to change the way that we're engaging with those around us, and to a very, can come with a very, very large impact. So another really great success story from someone who's come through and just spent that time thinking about how they show up at work and how they engage with others.
There definitely are aspects of art and science to it. The first step is sort of awareness, right? And just being aware of the issues, aware of how to, possible ways to approach it. And one thing that strikes me anytime I read a book like this, I was really, really struck as I read through the various chapters. You start thinking about your own organization,
right,
and the people around you. So for any actuary that is reading your book, they're going to be, they'll be assessing themselves. Well, of course, you have assessments throughout the book, but
yes.
even as before you even get to that, you're going to be thinking, oh, how does this work here at my company? And, so-and-so has, this challenge, and I've seen someone else do this very well, and that really worked great, and I should replicate that. And then it's, all throughout the book. That's fantastic. Yeah.
And I think that's where the power is, Bill, is being able to reflect on what this means for you and applying that in your workplace. I've often said that we can't learn leadership skills just by reading, and that might sound like a dangerous statement from a new author who has a book out in the world. But really, this book is very practical. There's a theory component, but every chapter has practical exercises so that you can start to bring this to life for you and see what that means for you in your organisation. And then a reflection section as well to think, well, how did that go? Did that feel right for me? Did those skills work for me? Do I need to adapt? Do I need to change? What else do I need to learn?
And I think those sections, like the reflection section, then also the interactivity of it, to watch a video or to download, some resources, really extend the value of it. And they do more than just the reading, as you said. You can't, and so yes, you have to put this into practice, but because it has these supplemental resources, and forces you to take the time to reflect, and there's oftentimes space where you can write it. It's very valuable from that standpoint as well. So yes, you have to put it into practice. You have certainly put this into practice. I think we're near the end of our time. If there's anything you wanted to throw in at the end, I'd be happy to have you do that. So I'll just open it up if there was something you would like to cover. I'm just asking, a few questions here, but
Thanks,
fantastic
Bill.
responses. I love it.
Thank you. I think the thing I'd like to end with is that, my mission as an actuary and executive coach is that if actuaries had better access to non-technical training to build their communication and leadership skills, I think that would really increase our influence and our impact in the world. It would increase our ability to apply our actuarial superpowers to make a difference in the world. We're a smart profession. We're highly trained. We have some amazing skills in our toolkit that we've been taught throughout our actuarial training. And I think sometimes our impact is limited because we can't communicate what we're doing. We can't communicate with others. We can't manage projects. We can't work with non-actuaries. I'm generalising here, but I think these are some of the barriers to us being able to optimise our impact in the world. And I think part of that is because our technical training is so focused, our foundational actuarial curriculum is so focused on technical training, as it needs to be. But we do need to weave in these non-technical soft skills as well so that we can maximise our impact.
Fantastic. Yes. Well, I want to thank you for your time. Thank you for writing this book. Again, Aspiring Actuarial Leaders by Julia Lessing. So Julia, thank you very much. We'll sign off here and look forward to the second edition.
Thanks so much, Bill.
So there you have it, real life stories and practical tips from a leader using their actuarial superpowers to make a difference in the world. If you enjoyed this episode, feel free to get in touch, subscribe, leave us a review and share it with your network. You'll find details from today's interview in the show notes below and on our website www.guardianactuarial.com.au. Until next time.